Hello and welcome to another edition of Curious Insects. Hope you are enjoying the videos in English now. So now let's have a look on the previous episode, what we had discussed there. So in the last episode we had discussed that Ningishzidda and Adapa had came to Earth from Nibiru, and Ningishzidda had told all the details whatever had happened on Nibiru to his father Enki. Enlil and Nirma were shocked to hear these details, about the real origin of Adapa. Ningishzidda starts teaching, Adapa and Titi about mathematics, numbers, and all those things. Marduk, starts teaching, one son of Adapa. His name he had kept Ab.el, and the other son of Adapa was taught by Ninurta. Ninurta was the son of Enlil, and Ninurta had kept his name as Ka-in. Sometime this Dumuzi also returns to Earth with Eves and their samples. And then agriculture and animal husbandry finally starts on Earth. So this is what we had discussed in our previous episode. Proceeding further from here, so while researching I found that the exact line of descent of sheep, of this domesticated sheep actually is not clear. Like from which animal it has developed further, this is not clear. But as modern scientists, or researchers, they believe that sheep was domesticated around 9 to 11,000 BC, and this perfectly coincides with our story. The cuneiform tablets say that Eve came from Nibiru. Actually, Eve is the female sheep. The male sheep is called ram, and their young one is called a lamb. But the cuneiform tablet doesn't have any mention of ram. So it suggests that because we discussed now that Dumuzi brought the essence, that is the DNA of these Eves, along with few Eves from Nibiru, and the leaders, these Anunnaki leaders, they had established a creation chamber here on Earth, near E.Din. So it seems that the first lambs were produced, by DNA manipulation or genetic manipulation, because there is no mention of ram in cuneiform tablets. So that actually it makes a perfect sense also, because perhaps they had to develop the first lambs from the essence of the Eves, because they were not sure whether these Eves will reproduce here on Earth. So what they did, they genetically engineered actually these lambs and produced the first lot. After that, they made males and females, as earlier they did in case of earthlings, when they developed them from apes. So same procedure they applied here, and they developed male and female here on Earth later on. How perfectly it fits with the, and logically it fits with the story which is written 6,000 years ago. Now here let's talk about this another thing, that is I told you in the last episode about Cain and Ab.el. The story of this Cain and Ab.el is mentioned in different scriptures throughout the world. This is true. In Hebrew and Christian Bible, Cain and Ab.el are mentioned as Cain and Abel, and they are also mentioned in Quran, in Muslim scriptures. There they have become Habil and Kabil. So story is the same, adaptation is is different into different cultures and in their different scriptures. Once this celebration was over, which I had discussed in the last episode, that new crops were grown by Cain, and Abel, Ab.el had developed the lambs, and they had offered them to the respective lords, that is Lord Enki and Lord Enlil. But after the celebration, Cain was very sad. He was very, sort of depressed after this celebration. The reason was that the way Ab.el had, received the appreciation from Lord Enlil for producing the lambs, Cain didn't receive that kind of response from Lord Enki. That is why he was a little bit depressed and he was sad. On when they returned to their respective places, uh, Abel started boasting, like, see, my, produce was, accepted by the Lord, and they liked it, your produce maybe is of not that quality, not that of a standard, which they didn't like. That's why they didn't praise you much. So this actually produced a sort of a hurt in the heart of Cain. He said, no, you are wrong. He tried to, convince himself, tried to console himself. Like, my grains are, required for food, and they are required for the these Anunnakis and these lords and gods here actually on Earth. So they are very important. And in my canals and these birds and fowls and other animals, they come and they drink their water. They grow here. So that is also very important. But Abel kept on teasing Cain, repeatedly. When it increased a little bit more, so Cain objected to it. He said he didn't like it, so he said, no, don't do it again and again, and he was, not liking it. When the summer season began, so what happened? Rains didn't happen. And these green pastures, these meadows, started drying up. And this at that time, this Ab.el also, started having a problem in feeding his flocks of sheep, and they needed water to drink. So what he did, he drove his herd actually into those fields of Cain. So Cain objected to it. See, he was earlier, also annoyed by Abel. So he told him that don't do it, because these crops are already, not growing as required. Most of them are dried up now, and you are driving your herd here actually. So this will destroy the crops further. So don't do it. But it entered into an argument. And this verbal argument actually converted into a physical fight between these two brothers, Cain and Ab.el. Fighting, for some time. This Cain pushed Abel hard, and Abel fell down on the ground. And then Cain completely lost his temper, and in that state of mind, he picked up a stone from nearby, and he, smashed the head of Abel repeatedly. Abel was covered with blood fully now, and he was lying there unconscious on the field. When Cain gained some, sense, then he saw Abel like that, he became afraid. And he sat on the ground, picked his head, picked the head of Abel and kept that head in his lap, and started crying. That get up, Abel, my brother, get up, like that. He started crying. There was no movement in Abel. His soul had already left him. Abel had died. So Cain, sat there in the field, keeping his head in his lap, motionless, just like that. Far away, at a little distance, from that place was Eridu. There, because here, this Cain, sat throughout, because this incident perhaps happened, somewhere in the afternoon. So after that, the whole evening and night, Cain was, sitting there like that. And here, during her sleep in the night, their mother Titi had a premonition. She saw a dream. She saw that Abel is covered with blood, and this Cain's hands are full of Abel's blood. She got scared actually, and she got up, and she immediately awoke Adapa also, and she told her that I saw this dream, which is not a good sign, something bad has happened. So Adapa said, okay, this is now, we are in the middle of the night, so we can't do anything. We will go and see these boys in the morning. So in the morning, they went to their place. So once they, went near that place, from the distance they saw that Ab.el is lying on the ground and Cain is sitting holding the head of Ab.el in his lap. So Titi lost, her control, and she ran towards them and she started crying. Adapa actually reached there. He also saw that dreadful scene, and he also started crying. He asked Cain that what you have done and why you have done this. When he asked this thing from Cain, who was sitting motionless since then, actually since the beginning, he also gained some composure, and he fell on the ground, and he also started crying, banging his head on the ground. After some time, Adapa then ran towards Eridu, and he went there and told Lord Enki about everything. Lord Enki was furious to know this, and he immediately asked the Adapa to bring Cain to Eridu. And when all they reached there, then Enki asked him that what you have done. This is a heinous crime which you have committed by killing your brother. And in this situation, you are not fit enough to live among the Anunnaki and civilized humans. So you have to leave this place. That Enki asked Adapa and others, that just as per Anunnaki custom, you have to bury the body of Ab.el. So in the ground, they buried the body of Ab.el and put the stones over that. This was perhaps the first murder on Earth. First murder of a human by a human. Titi and Adapa were totally devastated actually. They were not prepared for something like this. They never suffered in their life, this was the first incident like this. For 30 days and 30 nights, they mourned for their son Ab.el. In the meantime, Enki informed the mentor of Cain, Ninurta, and his brother Enlil, Enki's brother, and called them to Eridu. They came, there. So the Marduk, who had actually was the mentor of this Ab.el, he was very furious. Marduk was very angry, and he said that we must immediately put this Cain to death. Ninurta actually, he was the mentor of Cain, so he suggested that no, just to rush and kill him, we should put this Cain in front of the judges. So Marduk shouted, he said, why we need judges for an earthling? This system we have only for Niborians, You remember here actually in the last episode we had discussed that Marduk was not aware that about this story of the origin of Adapa. They had told him only the half truth, so he was not aware of the whole story. See, this thing had started a little bit early also. In the last 1 or 2 episodes we had discussed that this sort of a rivalry had started developing between these two clans of these two brothers, Enki and Enlil. Their children, and they were had become sort of a rival with each other. We will discuss about it further in our episode, because this rivalry actually grows further. Enki, then said to Enlil that I want to talk to Marduk privately in my chamber. So he took Marduk with him and he went to his private chamber. When they reached in that chamber, told Marduk that my heart is actually full and is overburdened with a secret, and today I want to reveal it to you. He then told Marduk the whole story of how this Adapa was born. He told that actually I wanted to develop a civilized human, and I copulated with these two earthlings, and Adapa and Titi are the result of that copulation. He further said that now unfortunately Ab.el is dead. If we kill Cain also, the line of Adapa will be finished completely. I understand your anger also, but if we will kill Cain, then there are certain things which will happen. First of all, the line of Adapa will be finished actually, because both the sons will be dead. Secondly, this Anunnaki nowadays actually are happy because they are getting proper food, because Cain is growing crops, Abel was growing these lambs. So this problem of food was over here on earth. If we will kill Cain, again who will then grow the food, and there will be a scarcity of food. And again we will end up into a situation like revolt. And he also said that Marduk, you took an instant liking towards these two boys, this Cain and Abel, because they are the sons of your half brother Adapa. So there is a genetic link now. So he said that I request you that you please have pity on Cain and don't push to kill him, and let the line of Adapa survive on earth. After hearing this whole story, Marduk went through multiple emotions. He was extremely astounded, he was angry also, and he was thinking deeply. Suddenly he started laughing, and he jokingly said that I knew, I had a hunch about your promiscuous nature, he said to his father Enki. But I never imagined that you will go up to this level, that you will have physical relations with these earthlings. Giving it a thought for some time, Marduk also said that yes, I understand that we should not kill Cain now, because if we will kill Cain, this whole line of Adapa will be finished. But Marduk suggested one thing. He said there is no point actually keeping Cain here now. Let us send him to a remote place. After this, Enki and Marduk came out of that chamber, and they told Enlil and Ninurta of their decision that okay, we will spare the life of this Cain, but he has to leave this place and he has to go to a distant place towards the east, which was called the land of wandering. Actually, in cuneiform tablets it is not mentioned that which was this land, actually land of wandering. It is just mentioned that Lord Enki asked Cain to leave Eridu and go to this place of wandering. Before leaving that place Eridu, this Enki suggested actually that we should put a mark on this kind of so that his race, his line will be distinguished always. And that was sort of a punishment he wanted to give him forever, to remember that he made a very big mistake by killing his brother. It was considered actually by Anunnaki as a very heinous crime, killing a brother, or killing somebody. Remember actually what had happened earlier on Nibiru also, because Alalu had killed one of the king there, and he had to leave Nibiru, he had to run away from there. So here the same thing was happening. They asked Cain to go from that place. Before leaving, then this Enki called Ningishzidda, and he said, okay, you put a mark on this Cain, so that his race will be distinguished always, that this race actually of Cain is like this, because Cain had committed a crime and God had abandoned Cain. So Ningishzidda then made again some DNA manipulation he did with Cain, and he made a change. And the change was that because Cain that time was very young, he was a growing boy. So the change was like this, that Cain will not grow any facial hair, no mustache, no beard. So this change Ningishzidda made actually in the DNA of Cain. So this is what actually had happened on E.Din and Eridu actually after this incident. So we shall now actually explore this story further, because this story happened because of certain reasons. Now we will see those reasons also, and different aspects of this story we will discuss in our next episode. So please send your comments how you are liking it, and give me your suggestions, and please keep subscribing and liking the channel. Until then, take a very good care of yourself. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.